Mick and Sam, taking you to Jungle Land. Bengals pride, it fills the air. Every week we're always there. Touchdowns, tackles, all the plays. Bengals roaring every way. Stories, news, and game recaps. Jungle Juice, we bridge those gaps. Welcome to the Jungle Juice. Mick and Sam, let's break it loose. Cincinnati, hear our call. Bengals fans, unite us all.
Welcome in to this week's edition of the Jungle Juice podcast. I'm Sam Gormley. He's Mick Nilsson. Mick 1-0 for the first time in the history of the Jungle Juice podcast. Can you believe it? I started to think it was us.
Oh, man. It feels sweet. First time since, everybody says, first time since the Super Bowl season.
Can you watch if that literally was just the thing? Like, Zach Taylor needed to start off 1-0. Every single time Zach Taylor opens up 1-0, though, he does go to the Super Bowl. That is an accurate statement. So he's never won a week 2 game. Never.
No.
Which is
now we need them to lose this game so we can
continue.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I if it's okay, I think I'd just rather them win. And because if you never lose, just channel your inner Lisa and say, let's go 20-0 and let's just win it all.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Hooday, Frank, thanks for joining us today. We get to have a happy show to open up the show here today. We get to talk Bengals Browns. Listen, was it pretty? No. Was it a little ugly? Yeah. But at the end of the day, Mick, it's a whole lot better to be 1-0 than it is to be 0-1. And because of that, we at least have to throw some positivity in here. And we'll talk about the negatives.
I think we'll have plenty of it. I mean, obviously any win results, any win garners a little bit of positivity, no matter how ugly, and by God, was it ugly at points during this game, it can get. But no, there were definitely some positives to take away from this game. We're going to be doing a deep dive into that. And let's face it, only half the teams in the league right now can say that they are 1-0 right now. We're finally, after 3 straight seasons of not being 1-0, are on that other side.
And you look at this and you're thinking, okay, who are 2 teams that people talk about being Super Bowl contender? A couple teams you're talking about being Super Bowl contenders. Ravens, they're 0-1. Chiefs, they're 0-1. Lions, they're 0-1. So you're looking at all of this, that you have a lot of good teams that opened up the year 0-1. Now, we've talked about problems with all of those teams and so on, especially the Lions. But still, you're 1-0, and in the end, that's all that actually matters. So we'll talk about the Bengals-Browns game. And then Open and Orange, we both have our orange on. We'll have our orange on Sunday as well. We're going to dive into the Jags game.
Should I break out the orange ski goggles?
It's, I think, going to be in the mid-80s. So I don't know that's.
I'm going to have some brow sweat going on.
I think you'd have a little more brow sweat. Those things would probably smell some sort of funky at the end of the night, too.
They might.
Yeah, and I don't know that we really need that. So we'll talk about Bengals, Jags, and so on. But first off, not a lot of news headlines to hit. Obviously, the main headlines are the games. But the Bengals did make some roster moves. Lucas Patrick was moved to IR. He got injured, first quarter of the game on Sunday against the Browns. And it's a calf injury. Zach Taylor said it's not season ending, but it is definitely at least 4 weeks. So he is put on to IR. They filled his roster spot with Mike Pennell, who we talked about last week, who got elevated to the active roster ahead of game day. He is now on the active roster, so they don't have to worry about any of that. The thing that this does tell me, though, is this, I think, says more about McKinley Jackson than anything else. Because you saw they bring him up from the practice squad, and McKinley Jackson was inactive on Sunday.
Yeah, you should have snipped my freezing cold take from last week that McKinley Jackson was going to be like the surprise most important player of this team this year.
Maybe you should stop giving surprise most important players.
Maybe I should just retire.
Remember who was it last year? Who was it last year that you said was going to be the X factor?
the guy that I'm still
Was
holding
also-
on for, Jermaine Burton.
was also inactive. And then I think it's funny. And I mean, listen, I've had plenty of bad takes. The year before, it was who was your regression candidate?
The team that literally set the league on fire. the
got the one
Baltimore
seed.
Ravens. Yeah, got the
Hilarious. Yes, Lisa, 17-0. It's happening. We're getting Mick onto the side of that as well. But Pennell is brought up to the active roster. I think let's come back and talk about him in a few minutes during the game, because I think it's important for us to do that. They did add 2 to the practice squad. Miles Cole, who is a 7th round pick by the Jags last year. He graded a 34 in 135 snaps last year. Not great. But he also was a 7th round pick out of Texas Tech. I don't know what you're really expecting. The one interesting one is Isaiah Foskey, a 2nd round pick from 2023 by the Saints from Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting connection there. Only had 149 snaps in 2 years, graded overall between a 55 and a 62.
Lisa told me to walk to the light. Is she wishing death upon me right now?
I think she's saying walk to the light as in the optimism.
Lisa wants me to die.
I mean, it's possible.
She's not the only one.
Join the club, right? But I think the Foskey one is interesting, because to me, this was a Al Golden decision.
Yeah. Him and Isaiah Foskey obviously had some type of rapport in Notre Dame, and I think we remember. I guess we weren't doing the podcast in early 2023, right? We didn't start until right before the 2023
August,
regular season. But I just remember, in kind of doing draft analysis before the 2023 draft, that Isaiah Foskey was, one of these edge rushers that was projected to go within the first couple of days. The production on the field wasn't great, wasn't bad by any means. I think he was viewed as one of these more toolsy kind of guys, but he's a guy that I think can plug into a 4-3 defense when needed, a nice rotational piece. Hasn't done a whole lot in New Orleans yet, but maybe there was just issues with Dennis Allen.
But he also wasn't awful.
No, he wasn't terrible. I just don't think he was on the field all that.
No,
much.
He had 149 snaps in 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is not much at all.
That might have something to do with it too. But you just look at the sack production at Notre Dame, and double-digit sacks in his last 2 years at Notre Dame in 2021 and 2022, with Al Golden as his defensive coordinator over there. But yeah, I think that it may be a sneaky good move. Definitely a 4-3 edge kind of guy, 6'5", 265 pounds. So he's got a little more build to him that you need out of a 4-3 defensive end. Missed tackle rate, which was nice to see in 2022, only a 3.1% missed tackle rate, which is a dangerously low number. That's really good. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that could be a sneaky find for this organization.
And he's on the practice squad.
Yes.
So you're not expecting really anything from him. He gets to develop a year. Maybe Al Golden can get some of the stuff out of him that the Saints never were able to. So yeah, I think it is a good move for the Bengals. And then one more roster move to report earlier today. Mick's favorite wide receiver, Isaiah Williams, was signed to the Jets active roster. So Isaiah Williams' career as a Bengal, at least for now, has ended. He lost that final 6th wide receiver spot to Mitch Tinsley. And honestly, for him, good luck. I hope that's a spot that he can go in. He probably wasn't going to have a role on this Bengals team, barring an injury. So I think that's a good move for him. So good luck to him in New York, and we'll see him in a couple of months.
We will. Good luck to Isaiah Williams.
There you go. Okay, that's the news headlines from the week. Like we mentioned, not a whole lot for us to get to. So let's go back and let's dive into Bengals-Browns on Sunday, a 17-16 rock fight for the Bengals. But again, like we mentioned, the only thing that matters, we can look at, we're both stats guys. We love stats. I love diving into, PFF grading, love diving into, yards per attempt, whichever stat you might like. But really, there's only one stat that actually matters at the end of the game. And that's the one that's on the scoreboard. And at the end of the game, the Bengals had more points than the Cleveland Browns. And because of that, I sat there And I smiled and I said, you know what? I don't really care what it looked like. I'm just happy that they won the football game, because so many times last year, maybe not in a rock fight game, but that play went against the Bengals. So it was nice to have one go in our favor.
Yeah, no, I think the Bengals, you know, in like you already said, the win is all that matters in this case, right? There were a lot of things that went right for the Bengals in this game, which I'm glad we were on the good end of variance for a game here. You know, we like you said before, we had so many games last year where we were not on the good end of that variance, where, you know, we didn't have those plays break, you know, our way, or the team didn't have those plays break their way, and that resulted in another non-playoff 9-8 season, right? So it was good to kind of see some things break our way, whether it was missed extra point and a missed field goal from Andre Schmidt. We'll see if he's still on the team after this week. I haven't heard about him getting cut yet. So
I think they worked out some kickers, but you know what? They'll probably give him at least one more week. Yeah. I don't know that you cut a guy after 1 week.
Yeah. Then you also had some miscues by some receivers. Some of them resulted in interceptions. 2 in a row on a drive resulted in a fourth down, and I think a punt. Or was that it might have been the field goal possession? I can't remember exactly. But yeah, it was nice to be on the good end of some miscues of the Browns for sure.
Let's talk about the Bengals offense. That first drive was really nice. You know, you saw a little bit of everything. They drive down the field and they get a touchdown. You saw a lot of Chase Brown early. And, you know, as we talked earlier this week, it was wild that the first Bengals pass completion and the Bengals' first touchdown of the season was to Noah Fant. And I would have loved to know your odds that you could have gotten in Las Vegas on that in like March of a Noah Fant in there, or even heck in June. But I thought, you know what? I thought the offense, you know, early looked good, which I think was a good thing. Now we can talk about how it ended up, but that first drive I thought looked really good.
Honestly, the first half as a whole looked like a whole different Browns versus Bengals game. You know, usually it is, like you say, a rock fight. Usually there's not a whole lot of offense coming around. And, you know, you had the first half that ended in a 14-10 score. I think both offenses were somewhat moving down the field. The Browns had a lot of help on their first drive with penalties, which, my God, I was, after like the third penalty, I was like, come on, guys. Like, some of it was very ticky-tacky, I think, especially with some of those PI calls. I think the one to DJ Turner was pretty bad. So, but it's also week 1 for the officials too, right? So hopefully they'll get better at some point. But yeah, it was just a whole different first half than what we're typically used to seeing. There was a decent amount of offense being played. Then the second half was more of the same of what we've seen in prior Bengals versus Browns matchups.
Let's talk about the offensive line. You know, Lisa brings up a good point that I think needs to be mentioned when we're talking about the offensive line for the Bengals. Myles Garrett is the best player they will face this entire season. In fact, Mick, I think you could make an argument that he's the best player they'll face either the entire season on either side of the ball. I think you could make that argument. You know, you could put Lamar and Josh Allen up into that. But as far as that, like, Myles Garrett is a difference maker on the defense. And some of those plays he just made. Like, he is just one of the best defensive players in the NFL. In fact, I'm not going to say one of. He's the best defensive player in the NFL for a reason. You know, you look at the grading, it wasn't necessarily great. I mean, you probably don't necessarily want to see your highest graded offensive lineman be Dalton Reisner, considering that he just came off the bench and got thrown in there. You know, Ted Karras graded about a 60, Amarius Mims in the 55 range, Orlando Brown Jr. in the low 50s. Not a great debut for Dylan Fairchild. But then again, hey, welcome to the NFL. You're going up against one of the best defensive lines you're going to face all season.
And yes, yeah, you're going up against, and I think Myles Garrett.
And a good defensive coordinator.
Yes, it may be the best defensive coordinator in football. That's not Vic Fangio, right? Jim Schwartz has had that Browns defense
in that. You could maybe throw Spags in there if you want.
In a sense, you could throw Spags in there, but in terms of purely dominating a football game, I think Jim Schwartz is probably top 3 out of all those defensive coordinators. But to the offensive line's credit, didn't look great, especially in the second half against this Browns defensive line and especially Myles Garrett. But they did a pretty good job of neutralizing that pass rush, especially in the first half. I don't think a pressure was recorded until either late in the first half or early in the second half. That's how good the offensive line was gelling and playing along. Then, Jim Schwartz makes some adjustments, I guess, and then Myles Garrett just gets fully unleashed in that second half. And there's not too many offensive linemen in the NFL that can really beat that. I mean, he's the best edge rusher in football for a reason.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's a great player.
He is. So, and also just kind of looking back to last year, this was not the worst graded pass blocking performance we've seen from a Bengals offensive line. I mean, so the team pass block grade for this game against the Browns, 56.5. The last time the Bengals graded that well as an offensive line unit was week 15 of the 2024 season against the Tennessee Titans. Nope, I misspoke. Denver Broncos 68.3, but you're constantly seeing last year grades in the 40s, low 50s. Hell, you have a couple of games in the 30s there for team pass blocking. So the fact that they were able to get off to a better start than what you saw towards the end of last year was pretty encouraging. And again, there's not going to be many better pass rushing units that we're going to see down the stretch here throughout the season than what the Browns, gave them on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean, I would like to see the grading if you could take out that one drive, where it seemingly was awful, and see how much it improved. Now, obviously, you can't do that. And I know Zach Taylor took the blame for the third sack, the one on third down. He says that was just a bad play call. He said he should have just played it safe and called a screen or a run or something that would have not allowed Burrow to get hit again on that. He took the blame for that. But at least with that, I'm intrigued here watching when you're playing and we'll talk more about the Jags later, where you're playing because it's not like the Jaguars have a terrible pass rush by any stretch. I mean, they have some really good pass rushers, but they don't have Myles Garrett. So I'm interested to see week 2 and week 3 as it goes along, because you are going to be facing some tough pass rushing units over these next couple of weeks as to how this offensive line can still move forward and mesh together.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I was somewhat encouraged after that. It wasn't a great game by any means. I don't even know if it was necessarily a good game by the offensive line, but we've seen a whole lot worse out of these guys before. So, cautiously optimistic, I guess, from my end here.
Chase Brown, I think early on was looking really good, and then when they knew he was going to run, it was not great.
No, they didn't do a great job after that first drive of trying to mix in the run with the pass. It seemed after that first drive they somewhat abandoned the run game a little bit, especially in that third quarter, and they didn't do any run plays again until the drive where they went for negative 10 yards and obviously in obvious run downs, trying to run out that clock after the DJ Turner interception. But yeah, part of me was kind of thinking, this was working so well for you on the first drive. You switched up your run scheme a little bit too. The Bengals have been primarily an outside zone running scheme. They were running a lot of inside zone on that first drive, and I thought that it worked pretty well. Showed a little bit of trust in the guard play and in Ted Karras as well. So yeah, I just don't know why they went away from it as much throughout the stretch of the game. But it was an encouraging first drive.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the run blocking grades for the offensive line, and they were actually somewhat. I mean, Orlando Brown graded a 74 run blocking. Dylan Fairchild graded a 60 run blocking, which, if he can do that all season as a guard, you're going to be okay. But at least Chase Brown, I thought too, some of the motions that Burrow was doing in the backfield was more intriguing. Like, we'd never seen him, he would like I don't even know what to call it. He would put the ball in the air and then drop it down and so on. It was kind of some interesting moves by him to try and, I guess, throw off the defense a little bit more on Chase Brown.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I didn't like what I saw to Chase Brown, yards after contact numbers weren't great. Didn't seem like he was really getting off of tacklers as well as he was, especially down the stretch last year. So that's something that I really hope we could see. We did see 5 missed tackles forced, which was a decent number, I guess. But yeah, definitely some work to be done or to be had. But yeah.
One thing I was really intrigued by, and I saw one outlet make a video and complaining about it, and this outlet's Mick, you know how I feel about him personally. I'm not even going to mention them on here because they're not worth mentioning as far as just some of the takes that they have on there, where I saw one person going on a rant about Zach Taylor, which, listen, you can complain about Zach Taylor all you want, but at least make it justified rants. And it was complaining about when they had it 4th and 1, late in the game, and they decided to punt. He was crucifying Zach Taylor for that decision. And Mick, you know me. I would argue that I'm probably as aggressive on 4th down as anybody. I love going for it. Because in my eyes, putting the ball in Joe Burrow's hands, I'm never going to be mad about that. But in that scenario, I think he made the right decision to punt it away.
Yeah, I think I could have gone either way. If we're talking about the 4th and 1, the drive before the DJ Turner interception, where they ended up taking a delay of game. At some point, you feel like your luck's going to run out a little bit. Like, the defense had been playing really well, down the stretch in that second half. Had some breaks go their way. I guess you kind of wondered, was their luck going to eventually run out, and was Joe Flacco going to drive the ball down the field? I wasn't, upset at all. Like, whoever you mentioned there was crucifying Zach for that. I don't think it was a terrible decision, but I wouldn't have been opposed to him actually going for that just to ice the game away.
T. Brookie asks, what was in Joe Burrow's head and Coach Taylor is one turnover could lose this game. They went low risk. Joe was throwing safe throws after we got the lead. What do you think? I don't think that's unfair at all to say.
No.
That they were just playing very safe.
Yeah, and it ended up, not really costing the team. Not a single turnover was had in this game. Not a single turnover worthy play from Joe Burrow was had. It's not like he threw any risky balls at all. So that to T. Brookie's point there, I think it's a valid point. But yeah, I mean that's the good thing about Burrow is that he can play that game manager role when he needs to play it, and take care of the ball. He's one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league, at doing that.
And I heard some people that were diving deeper into the film too that mentioned, I think Dan Pitcher even said on Monday said that they were 1 or 2 plays really close from having a big play and breaking it. And you hit 1 or 2 of those and this game isn't even close. And I know you can say if it's for fifths, we'd all be drunk kind of thing, but you were close against this defense. And this is a really good defense with a really solid secondary. As far as a corner duo, that's one of the best corner duos in the league.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that the Browns, like the conversation the Browns get the number 1 overall pick, I think is stupid because they have too good of a defense to get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Browns are probably going 5-12, 6-11 at worst, right? I think that they're still a pretty good football
It wouldn't
team.
even shock me if they Marvin Lewis it and finish, 7-10,
Like
8-9,
yeah.
where they get the 15th pick when really they need a top 5 pick, to move forward and get another playmaker, which wouldn't hurt my feelings because I don't think we really need them to get a stud receiver or something. Okay. Anything else for the offense, or you want to jump into this Bengals defense, which is weird that we're going to talk positive about the Bengals defense.
One thing that I'm hoping we get to see out of Zach Taylor, and we're not going to see, Myles Garrett for a while here, but it seems like at points that Jim Schwartz is almost baiting Zach Taylor every time that they were playing press man during this game. Press man. Shout out to the college football dynasty. But they were playing press man quite a bit against T and Jamar, and like we do when we're playing college football and we see press man, get a little excited to do it. You're ready to throw it to a receiver, but when you're trying to hit one of those deep plays on a press man defense, you got to account for Myles Garrett on the other side of the football. So I think that allowed Myles Garrett to, you know, prolong his pass rush a little bit and close out on plays because these routes are taking too long to develop, you know, out of T and out of Jamar. So when you're dealing with that, you know, maybe you have a mistake on it, you know, once or twice. But when you're continuously trying to do that, when you see press man, you got to get a little more creative with the play calling, I think, which hopefully we'll see a little bit further down the stretch. I think Zach doesn't really get into his bag of play calls until a little bit later into the season anyways. But that was just something to know.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, that team probably plays more man than anybody.
Yeah.
The Browns. And they trust their corners, and why wouldn't you? Because it was, you know, they were outstanding. The defense for the Bengals. Lisa brings up probably one of the first guys that I think we have to talk about. Demetrius Knight was all over the field, and, you know, he had 10 tackles, I believe, in the game. And listen, he there were some questions during the preseason, didn't play great, and he didn't grade great if you're looking at it, but he came away with tackles, and I thought he came over the field. But then also your other rookie, and listen, we talked about him a lot. Shamar Stewart, though, Mick. I mean, listen, he looked good.
He did. I think the rookies, I think Shamar Stewart definitely shined, and it definitely came through on the grading. I think we saw, a 26% pass rush win rate out of Shamar Stewart. That is more than double what his pass rush win rate was at Texas A&M last year. So that was an encouraging sight to see. Also, like that he was able to get positioned to bat down balls at points during the game, which was nice to see. And he ended up having a pretty solid debut for this team. And you know, we've talked about, we need that guy. We need that other edge rusher on the other side of Trey Hendrickson to come in and make some noise and be as dominant, or to be at least somewhat as dominant as Trey can be. And I think Shamar showed a lot of promise in doing that.
The play that, you know, you can go to our Facebook page and you can see it. The fact that he took DeJuan Jones and literally threw him to the side as if he was throwing me or you to the side. I mean, DeJuan Jones is a GAM, a grown man. I mean, it does not get much bigger on an NFL field than him. And Shamar Stewart just threw him to the side like it was a slot corner who came from a D3 school.
Yeah. I mean, Shamar Stewart's a freak athlete, and the fact that he was able to do that was fairly impressive.
How about the run defense?
I was impressed. I was happy with it. I was very happy with the run defense.
I mean, how could you not be? A little over, 2 yards a carry? I mean, if I would have told you that. I mean, look, TJ Slayton looked good. Again, he didn't grade great, but he was in on tackles.
And he was constantly making run stops when he was in position to do so.
Which is the reason they paid him. That's the reason that they brought him here. And then the other guy on the interior, that defensive line, who I was kind of like, there he goes making another play. There he goes making another play, was BJ Hill.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think
from him.
I think the grading wasn't necessarily what I thought it was going to be for BJ Hill, like graded in the high 60s in both pass rush and run defense. But I thought he played really well. I thought we saw him all over the field throughout the game on Sunday. Made 3 run stops, which was great to see. You couldn't really ask for much more out of him.
You saw that reminded me of about 2021 BJ Hill.
Mm-hmm.
When the last time that he was compared or had a partner like a Larry Ogunjobi. And that's why I think so much emphasis is going to be put on Chris Jenkins this year to be able to take BJ Hill off the field. BJ Hill is most effective when he's playing, 50 to 60% of the snaps instead of 80% of the snaps. And you saw that on Sunday. He was a completely different player because he wasn't toast throughout the game.
No, and I think Chris Jenkins in limited action showed how good he can be at run defense, which is why, I think the Bengals drafted him in the first place a couple of years ago. Ended up having a 70 run defensive grade on 9 run defensive snaps. Ended up having a run stop as well, which was huge, and also had a stop in the passing game as well.
I did see T-Brookie asked a question here. I didn't want to skip it here. He says, I would not be surprised that the Browns defense will make it a close game with the Ravens. The Browns could upset the Ravens this week. It's either Ravens revenge or Browns shocker. I mean, listen, that Browns defense can make it hard on any good offense. I don't deny that. If I think it'd be one of those things that if the Ravens would have beaten the Bills, I could see this happening. But now that the Ravens are 0-1, I don't know that I would be picking against them this week. Agreed?
I think it's going to be a close game. I'll definitely take the Browns on the spread.
And then he says that the Ravens are celebrating their 30-year anniversary of stealing the franchise from the Browns in the Browns game. Kind of classless. That's AFC North rivalry for you, though. Although I'll go with for Cleveland. What a brutal start to the season. Bengals, Ravens in the first 2 weeks. That's tough.
Oh, their first 2 months or when I was doing my season preview is brutal. It's not just Bengals, Ravens. They have Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers, and then maybe you get a break with the Dolphins if their offense looked the way it did on Sunday.
You know, most of those teams you just mentioned, it's also the Bengals' first 2 months.
True.
Lions, Vikings, and Packers, and Steelers. Like the Bengals play all of those teams as well in the first 2 months of the season. Okay. Also from the defense, you know, Trey Hendrickson. I think that I don't know how concerned I was, but there was at least a question of you remember last year, Jamar Chase had the hold in and was not as sharp against the Patriots. So you're thinking, will Trey Hendrickson maybe be not quite as sharp considering that he had a hold in? Nope, he was Trey Hendrickson. like if you would have flipped on that film, you would have thought he played everything he did, you know, graded an 88.1, pass rush grade of only 90.2 only, right? He was a difference in the game, you know, 8 total pressures, a sack, 2 hits, 5 hurries, 2 tackles. I mean, he just did what he should have done.
Yeah, I really like that Al Golden moved Trey Hendrickson around a little bit during the game. He wasn't just constantly at the right end position like Lou kind of had him at throughout the course of the past 4 years, right? They had Trey move around quite a bit from right to left. And I think it did a lot for Trey. And this is Trey's best game, grading wise, pressure wise, since the Raiders game last year in Week 9, where he had 9 pressures and 4 sacks. This was his best graded game since then. 8 pressures, he had 1 sack, 2 QB hits, 41.4% pass rush win rate.
Is that good?
Man, and we got him on a bargain.
What'd you think of the crybaby eyes? Lisa wants to know. Did you like that when he hit Flacco?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty good.
I like it. I like the little attitude that Trey Hendrickson has on the field. The other guy on the defense that we absolutely have to mention, though, Logan Wilson looked like vintage Logan Wilson.
Yep.
I mean, graded 89.4. I mean, listen, he looked like vintage Logan Wilson.
Yeah, they set him on a couple of blitzes too, and I think that he had some success on that as well. He ended up having 2 pressures on his only 2 blitzing snaps. Had an 88 run defensive grade, which is great. 2 run stops, only 1 missed tackle. Also didn't grade too badly in coverage. Did give up 4 receptions on 5 targets, 29 yards. Did have a pass breakup in the game. It was a great game from Logan Wilson, and I was a little worried when he came out during the second half, and they had to throw Derek Carter in. Oh yeah. You're losing your captain of your defense, your play caller of your defense, and you know that as soon as we saw him come off the field with the suspected concussion, I thought might have been a turning point in the game if he didn't end up coming back out there. I don't know if the Bengals really win this game or if they make the plays on defense that they need to make. Now, I don't think he was on the field during the Jordan Battle interception, at least, if I remember correctly. But I don't know if they're making the other plays and drives subsequent to that one.
Jordan Battle, Riley mentions too. You know, he had the moment in the preseason game against the Commanders where he was atrocious. You know, I mean, he was bad. And I know it was 6 plays. Is that how many it was? 7?
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of plays, but in that sample size, it was ugly from Jordan Battle. But he did. He came away with an interception. He made a huge play on 4th down. Wasn't it 4th down?
Yeah.
Where they tried to throw the little swing pass out. He read it, came in, made the big hit, didn't allow them to get any more yardage on that, gave a turnover on downs, gave the ball back to the Bengals. He had a really good game.
Yeah. He was constantly in on action during the game. He had 5 tackles, 7 tackling assists. Had a stop at one point. Had pretty good coverage across the board. Had the interception, and that was the Jordan Battle I think we were used to seeing in 2023 in his rookie season, where we thought, hey, he's going to be one of these answers at safety. You know, and I'm glad that he's back and starting because I think last year it definitely hurt his confidence and hurt his development a little bit. So it's glad to see him. I'm glad to see him bounce back from that.
The negative on the defense. Well, actually, you know, I have one more positive. Miles Murphy at least made some plays, and I think he drew a holding penalty. Did he not?
Yeah, I think so.
So at least maybe we're seeing now. It you know, 22 snaps, not a lot, but hopefully maybe you're seeing him turn the table and do a little bit. Maybe see some positivity coming from that. Cam Taylor-Britt. Maybe I should shut up on my Cam Taylor-Britt takes.
Yeah.
Just like you talk about Bengals 2024 third-round draft picks, I should stop talking about Cam Taylor-Britt.
Yeah, it wasn't a great game for him. Wasn't a good game for him. It was a really bad game for him.
The thing with it's just the consistency. Like, you see him some games where he looks like I don't know if we're going to say top-level corner, but he looks like a super solid corner in the NFL. And then the next week he does this. And I just don't get it. I don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of player. He's either really on it and playing really well, or he's playing like absolute garbage, which he did on Sunday. It wasn't a good game from CTB. This was the type of game that would have gotten benched, I think, if Lou were coaching, and Lou would have been fed up with him at that point. I mean, this is his worst graded game since you and I made the trip to Carolina, and he made some really he got benched in that game. He was so bad. So hopefully he bounces back a little bit from it. But my God, 6 receptions on 7 targets. 76 yards, 1 touchdown given up, a 151.5 passer rating, a 36.3 coverage grade is abysmal. It's not going to get it done. I'm glad the other corners on the team kind of made up for the poor play here, but yeah, it's got to get better.
And the part that worries me a little bit is that's against Jerry Jeudy and Tillman. This is not a great wide receiving crew. Now, Jerry Jeudy, I don't think is bad by any stretch, obviously, but you're just going to be playing better receivers, including this week, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. With a guy like Brian Thomas and maybe Travis Hunter, you could throw in there, but it is just I don't know. Brett Jekyll Hyde. I like that, Frank. I like that. I like that. Good one there. But yeah, I think the overall defense, Al Golden talks a lot about winning the turnover differential.
Which they
did that. +2.
Really good.
That's the key. Yeah. That's the key to winning games. They did that. And that's the difference and the reason that they won. And because of that, I'm glad that the defense, did they look fantastic? No. But it's not like they gave up the big run. They didn't give up any big runs. In fact, I think their longest run of the day was 6 for the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that.
Yes. Yeah. They plugged the run really well. Now, they got to find a way to stop outlet passes to running backs, and we saw Dylan Sampson get a few things going during the game, and especially in that second half intro touchdown drive earlier in that second half, their first drive. It seemed like they were going to Dylan Sampson a lot as kind of the outlet there. So if they could find a way to plug that, and I think that might have been the drive that Logan Wilson was out at some point, if I remember correctly. So I don't know if maybe some of it had to do with Barrett Carter being thrusted into action there or not. But the run defense in general looked really good. And this was, if we saw this defense play last year throughout the season, I think this team's in the playoffs, right? So that's what we wanted to see out of that's what we wanted to see out of the defense. Their best graded game since the Titans game last year, only graded better than what they graded last week twice last year, and those were against the Raiders and the Titans.
Hopefully Lisa's right in agreeing with what we say there. There are signs of life from that Bengals defense. Special teams wise, we got to give a huge shout out to Ryan Rico. What a unbelievable punt when they needed it the best.
Had the play of the game with the punt that nailed them deep in their end zone to seal the game there and ice the game. So huge punt from Ryan Rico. Obviously, you'd want to see him getting in the 20 a little more than what he did. He was only in the 20 once on 6 punting attempts. Did have 2 touchbacks, allowed during that game, but he came up huge when you needed him to come up big.
Evan McPherson made all his kicks.
He did.
William Wagner did everything he needed to do. So I think, special teams wise, you got to be pretty happy. Anything else you have takeaways from this Browns game, or you want to hop into the Jags?
Let's hop into the Jags.
The Jags open in orange on Sunday, 1:00 on CBS. If you're not going to be going to the game, you're going to get to listen to Chris Lewis and Logan Ryan on the call from CBS, which is like their 7th crew.
Which is crazy because it's not like I feel like the Jags and the Bengals would be a somewhat entertaining football game.
I agree. You get a, Burrow Lawrence, 2020, 2021 rematch. I don't know. In fact, the last 2 times they played has been in primetime, right? Or 2 of the last 3? Because you had Thursday night game and you had Monday night.
The last 2 games, yeah.
Yeah, been in primetime. Now, I don't know that this one is primetime worthy this year, but at least maybe not CBS's 6th crew, but alas, it's not like it matters to us because we're going to be there. Alan Eck will be the referee. Do you know anything about Alan Eck?
I think the Bengals have played in a game where he's ref before.
You are correct once.
Okay.
Which game was it? No, I'm not going to kidding you. If you pull this out, I'm going to be very impressed. There's no way. Are you going to make a guess?
No.
Okay. It was a win in the last couple of years. The season finale in 2023 against the Browns.
Okay.
They won 31-14. Would you have made that guess? Probably not. No. He was the referee on Monday Night Football this past week. So if that allows you to put a picture in your head of who this guy is, that is who he is. He's only been a ref for a couple of years as far as being promoted into the head spot. Injury report for both these teams. For the Bengals, Amarius Mims limited with an ankle. Limited on Wednesday is hopefully good. And then it's at least worth mentioning that William Wagner was full with a hamstring today. So at least worth mentioning in there. For the Jags, Wyatt Milam, who is a guy we talked a lot about during the draft process, did not practice with a knee injury, and Monteric Brown was limited with an ankle injury. So those are the Jags injuries. The ruler of the jungle on Sunday will be none other than the Cincinnati Kid, Mr. Sam Hubbard. I was a little disappointed in myself, man, because we were talking. I asked you, I don't know, it was Sunday or Monday, we were talking. And I said, who do you think the ruler of the jungle is? And we mentioned a couple of names and so on. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I was like, it's going to be Sam Hubbard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes the most sense.
We were both like, yeah, that it's got to be Sam.
And then Tuesday, it comes out that it'll be Sam Hubbard. I think that's a really good one.
Yeah. I think it'll be like everybody else, but it'll be a good one.
They asked Joe Burrow what he thinks about it, what he thinks we should expect. And he says, You can probably expect a double arm flex from him during it. And Zach Taylor, though, did request that the crowd, he said, can you all please not tailgate, come in 15 minutes earlier to be in there for opening kickoff? He said, just for this game, to give Sam Hubbard and to give us a little early juice early on in the season. So Mick, Zach Taylor is asking you to drink one less drink this week. Are you willing to accept that?
Yeah, sure. Whatever he wants.
Lisa, you heard that here now. Mick will not get as intoxicated this week, right? No promises. That means we're just going to have to get there 15 minutes earlier so you can end up drinking that earlier in time. Okay, let's dive into the matchup. Bengals offense against this Jags defense. I mentioned earlier in the show, this pass rush, it's worth mentioning. Josh Hines-Allen is one of the better pass rushers that doesn't get talked about in that upper echelon of pass rushers, I feel like. He's Kentucky guy, went to UK. He's got a really cool story too. I can say this is a UK guy. He was an unranked recruit. His 2 offers coming out of high school was Monmouth and Kentucky. And he picked Kentucky and ends up being a top, was he 5th or 6th draft pick? I don't remember, a couple of years ago. The best news about him, though, is I don't know if you followed his story. His son, Wesley, I believe is his name, who is 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that range, had been battling cancer, but I do believe was found cancer-free a couple of months ago. So that's awesome
great
for him. He's a really good pass rusher, but it's not just him. You've got Trayvon Walker, who was the number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago. Eric Armstead as well. Trayvon Walker is going to be my favorite, in 15 years, Mick. When you're trying to name, the number 1 draft picks, he's going to be one of the guys that people forget.
That everybody forgets about. Yes. I agree with that. He's going to be the Jake Long of the 2020s.
Or who is Eric Fisher? Or no,
Eric Fisher for the Chiefs. But Josh Hines-Allen is obviously the point of interest, the person of interest on that pass rush for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Had almost as good of a game as Trey Hendrickson had against the Panthers last week. 89.6 pass rushing grade in his week 1 debut. 7 pressures, 1 QB hit, 6 QB hurries, no sacks. So Trey edges him in sacks there, and actually edges him across the board, but still a 32.1% pass rush win rate. You mentioned Trayvon Walker. He's going to be looking for a bounce back game against the Bengals. Did not have a great season debut against Carolina. Only 3.6% pass rush win rate, which is not going to get it done for the edge rusher on the other side there.
When you step out to the corners to look at, they graded fine, coverage wise in the upper 60s, mid to upper 60s, both of their corners, Jordan Lewis and Tyson Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. What is maybe the difference between the Carolina Panthers wide receivers and the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers? Mick, is there a little bit of a difference between those two?
One has my dynasty fantasy bust, Xavier Legette. The other one has T. Higgins as the outside X receiver.
Is it what are you trying to tell me? Are you making the take that T. Higgins is a better wide receiver than Xavier Legette? That's right, I forgot it's Legette. Are you making that take right now?
Yeah, it's a hot one.
Wow.
But yeah, we're gonna take it.
Hot take. That is going to be interesting. But then, and we're going to talk more about Travis Hunter on the offensive side of the ball here in a moment. He played 6 snaps on defense, 3 in coverage last week. I'm fascinated what they're going to do with him. And I'm kind of glad that the Bengals are playing this week 2 to where the Jags are still figuring out what to do with him.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we should really have Trey back in coverage much at all. I know that Al Golden was going for this Viper edge kind of position.
About Travis Hunter.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Trey Hendrickson.
No,
Travis Hunter. Can we cut that out of the?
I don't know what. I was like, Trey drop back and cut. What's Al Golden have to do with Travis Hunter?
That was a gaffe. But yeah, no, I think.
I don't think I said Trey. I meant to say Travis Hunter.
I don't know. I must.
I may. One of us is losing our minds.
Probably. But yeah, Travis Hunter only had 3 coverage snaps against the Panthers last week. They've been mentioning this week. Liam Cohen's mentioned that Mick needs his in. Honestly, we're gonna put one in a second. But
I saw you remove it about 30 minutes ago, so I guess it's finally starting to kick off.
Yeah.
He's coming back down from it.
So only had 3 coverage snaps. He was he was a second string corner listed on the depth chart, so I don't think we really expected him to be that involved in the defense. I think Liam Cohen did come out and say that he is going to be featured in the defense a little bit more against the Bengals, so that is going to be interesting to see because he might have been the best corner in college football last year. So how can our wide receivers match up against that will be pretty interesting there.
Well, flip sides, Bengals defense against this Jags offense. Last week, Trevor Lawrence, 19 of 31, 178, touchdown and interception. He had 2 turnover-worthy plays. I mean, we mentioned the wide receivers, Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas. Neither one graded great last week against the Panthers at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's really something that we can expect to see throughout the season, but Brian Thomas did not have a good game. 50.5 receiving grade, 1 reception on 7 targets, only 11 yards. Did have a drop in there at one point. But yeah, you didn't really see a lot out of either of the wide receivers. Travis Hunter, 6 receptions, 8 targets, 33 yards, 55.2 receiving grade. Really, their best graded pass catcher was tight end Bretton Strange, out of Penn State. I can't imagine that's going to be the case every week, and I think the Panthers do have a decently coached defense with Evero in his 3rd year, I think, coaching the unit. So, yeah, I think that'll be an interesting matchup to see if the Bengals corners can follow up to how well that they played, besides from CTB, against this Jaguars receiving corps.
I'm intrigued by the Jaguars. They trade Tank Bigsby yesterday or the day before to the Eagles. I'm wondering if that opens up snaps for Bashal Tutin.
I think the writing's on the wall for it to happen, right?
The guy that we both loved coming out of Virginia Tech. If you listen to our draft podcast, I think we probably spent 5 or 10 minutes one show talking about him because he is a fun running back out of Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah. And this is going to be interesting for the run defense, by the way, because the Jaguars running backs, we just kind of shit on the wide receiver play, a minute ago.
52-37, Mick. That's how long we made it before we have to now put it on an explicit rating. That's, I think, your new long. Good job. Okay, go on.
But the Jaguars running game was out of this world during the Panthers game last week. Now, I don't know if some of it had to do with the rain delay, why the pass game wasn't working so well and they just had to resort to the run game. But also, the run game was just working in general, right? I mean, they ran 32 times for 200 yards and had a touchdown out of it. Travis Etienne, would you say you surprised everybody? I wasn't expecting him to go for a $143 on 16 attempts, averaging 9 yards a carry last week.
I'll put that one on me because I think it's the first time I haven't drafted him in fantasy because I've always liked that guy. And finally I was like, you know what? He's burned me enough. So that's why. He's the
Jalen Waddle of running backs for me. At least Jalen Waddle's that guy for me. But yeah, I think this does open up an opportunity for Bashal Tutin to play. I think that both of us really liked his explosiveness coming out of college, his ability to get yards after contact, his ability to force missed tackles. So yeah, I think you're going to have to deal with a more dynamic run game than what you saw last week in Cleveland. So it's going to be interesting to see if our unit can follow up with the performance that they had last week.
Does it worry you at all that Ross Mastisik graded so poorly for the Jags? Do you know who that is?
That's their fullback.
That's their long snapper.
Oh.
Does that worry you at all? You had a 50.1 grade. Could that be a factor on Sunday?
I don't know how you can really grade long snappers.
I don't know. I was just looking at this because I couldn't remember off the top of my head who their kicker was. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, it's Cam Little. Forgot about that. And then I was like, oh, wait, who graded so poorly? Oh, Ross Matisic. But now I'm also curious, like, let's just see because I'm looking at it. What did the Panthers long snapper graded? The Panthers long snapper, J.J. Jansen, graded a 62.7. So maybe that is a factor. You never know as this goes forward. Anything else you want to talk about, or you want to jump into some picks?
No, I was going to say the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line played pretty well last week too, so that might be something to note. See if our pass rush can repeat the same performance that they had. But also they were going up against the Panthers pass rush, which is still very much a work in progress. So I think we're ready for some picks.
Lisa's going to drop in her first one. Bengals win 35-21. Frank goes simple. He's going to say Bengals win. I like it. Open us up. Where are you going?
I'll go 28-21 Bengals. Pretty clean score, but I think Liam Cohen's just his second game.
Duval.
Yeah, it's just Liam Cohen's second game. In recent memory, Jaguars' first-year head coaches don't have great experiences coming to Cincinnati and then making a drive to Columbus the evening after.
Zach Taylor is 5-1 against first-year head coaches, like in the last couple of years as well.
So that is definitely something to note. Who's the one loss? I know that's your trivia question.
And see, I probably could have looked or thought about this some more. Oh boy.
He is no longer coaching in the NFL as a head coach, at least. I don't think he's a coordinator anywhere either.
Is it Joe Judge?
No.
From the Giants?
No, he did not coach. It's not Joe Judge.
Who is it?
Gerard Mayo.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yep, last year. Yep, that is a good point. Lisa is calling you so conservative for that. Riley says Bengals 38-17. Think the offense has bounced back and the defense shows up again. Frank says the offense will play much better. I did appreciate, though, Zach Taylor today at his press conference. Riley was right in Mayo. I completely forgot about him. He said, congrats to Liam Cohen for picking up a win in week 1. Some first-year head coaches, they make wait until December to get his first win, is what he said, which made me laugh.
Yeah, we were at that game.
Yes. That was the first time I had season tickets.
We saw one of the best Andy Dalton touchdown passes at the game.
Against the Jets. I'm going to say Bengals 23-21. 23-21 against the Jags. I think the offense still needs one more week. One more week to really get in there. It's just kind of a weird game. It's a weird game for it. But I think the Bengals end up winning. Do you have an MVP prediction? Who's going to be the best player?
I think this is going to be the game where Burrow gets right. I mean, and I know the Bengals haven't won a week 2 game under the Zach Taylor era, but I feel like Burrow has put together some decent games in week 2, regardless of whether they won or lost. I mean, I remember that Ravens game in 2023 where Burrow actually looked really good in that game. And they just couldn't pull it away. And then I think Burrow
last year against the Chiefs, he looked good.
Last year against the Chiefs, he looked good. So I think this is a good Joe Burrow bounce back kind of game. Dealt with that behemoth of a defense in the Cleveland Browns, just the defense that always seems to match up with them no matter what the circumstance is. I think Burrow is going to be due. And I think Chase is probably due as well. Really, the offense, any one of those 3 guys is due for a big game.
I considered sitting here and picking CTB, but I can't do it. I can't bounce back from CTB. Maybe a pick.
CTB against Brian Thomas Jr. Scares me a little bit, but I feel like he's gonna rise up to the competition there because I think
I'm gonna say we get a Demetrius Knight interception in a big moment.
Okay.
Kind of like ADG had against the Mahomes. You play similar to that last year, where he's going to get Trevor Lawrence and make a nice play. That's going to in a pivotal moment. And Demetrius Knight will have a big interception in this game. Again, Sam Hubbard is the ruler of the jungle on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing you as well, Lisa. It looks like the weather is going to be great, right?
Yeah, 85 and sunny.
Can't ask for much better for September in Cincinnati. 1 o'clock. If you see us, say hi. Mick will be pounding his. Are you going back to the Mountain Dews?
No, we're gonna. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I found a new seltzer out there. It's called Carbless. It's not carbless. It's carbonated. CARBLISS.
Did you sign an endorsement deal and I didn't know about it? Is that what you're doing right now?
But they are like high noons, but they got a little bit better flavor to them.
Okay.
So not doing the Mountain Dews this year. Got to find a new drink. We got to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, when you've been drinking them, they haven't been winning. So you got to switch it up. Maybe I need to go back to. I was doing the Jack Daniel honey. I don't really like them, but they won a bunch of games when I did that. So maybe I have to go back to that. But we look forward to seeing everyone on Sunday, and hopefully we can get a big win. Any parting thoughts tonight, Mick?
If we do not make the playoffs this year, I will not be drinking at any more Bengals games. I will be stone cold sober.
You lying sack of garbage. I still remember, I think this Jets game it was, the one that we were just talking about in 2019. We were tailgating, but we went to whatchamacallit, to Longworth.
We did.
And then we went into the stadium and you bought I think it was a Bloody Mary, was it? Or like a gin and tonic or something in the stadium. And I remember that person making you that drink realized...
they filled like 3/4 of the cup of gin.
Oh, yeah. Realized that, they're coming to watch the winless Bengals. He needs a little bit extra. And
it was cold out. They're like, it's cold out. They're playing the Jets. They're 0-11. We're going to load up this man's drink.
It was... And you were... I don't even think you drank even half of it because it was just pure... I don't remember if it was gin, if it was vodka, or whatever it was. It was pure alcohol. Mick, you do have a big game in your college football video game dynasty tonight. You feeling good about it?
Should we just stream it on the Jungle Juice page?
We don't have it set up to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm not too confident myself.
You might be embarrassed. Hey, listen, I mean, we could have streamed the Jungle Juice Bowl a couple of years ago because freedom is ringing. Gin and tonic, are you Mark's age? Lisa wants to know, Mick.
See, I used to bring like they used to make gin and tonic like, how they make like high noons or whatever. They used to do canned gin and tonics at the liquor store. They stopped doing it like a couple of years ago. So there was a time and period where I would, dump out water bottles that I had in my closet, and I would make my own gin and tonics, bring them to tailgates.
This is accurate. This did happen.
We didn't go to the playoffs that year either. That I started making G&T water bottles. I think
that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think the first game I did that was the Texans game that we lost. So we'll be doing that. Oh, thank you, Frank.
I like it. I'm not allowed to wear a Joe Burrow jersey. Not allowed to do it.
No, we need the most likely Bengal to get cut jersey. But he has to be on the team for like at least a couple of years, or else it's not worth the buy.
See, this is a knockoff one, so I think it doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the same power. But if I buy an actual one, I can't. I don't know who I'm gonna do. I think I'm just gonna rock the Cal Adamitis for eternity. Pour one out for him. Mick, we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you. Houday, thanks for watching.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week. Remember to follow us on our social media channels. We're Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, favorite podcasting platform as well. And like Mick said, Houday.